A Gathering of Gargoyles by Meredith and Pierce. Chapter 5, Keeper of the Light. Ariel followed the keeper into the tower. A spiral stair ascended the wall. Ariel and her guide emerged onto the top of the tower. A vaulted roof rose overhead. The wind, gusting off the sea of dust, was strong. At the center of the open chamber stood a dark dais, upon which lay a ring of silver metal, set with spires like a crown. From each point rose a small blue tongue of flame. "What is it?" Ariel asked, leaning nearer. The flame burned, a scentless cloud of smoke. "What is it?" the person echoed, chafing both hands over the flame. Ariel could feel no heat. "The beacon, of course! This is a lighthouse, wayfarer! What did you think it was?" "A lighthouse," murmured Ariel. The words felt strange upon her tongue. "What is a lighthouse?" The other gave a snort and wheezed. After a moment, Ariel realized that this was laughter. "It makes a beam to warn ships off the rocks and show the mariners the only safe landfall hereabouts. What else? How is it you have piloted all the way across the sea of dust and have never heard of a lighthouse?" Ariel had no time to make reply. The keeper sighed. "I remember before they stopped coming, how the big ships used to lie off the coast, and with my raft ferried their goods to shore. Shore. Then there was work, and never a wreck." The keeper glanced sharply at Ariel. "You'd not have wrecked your craft either, wayfarer, if only you'd followed the beam." Ariel shook her head. "I saw no beam." The person eyed her. "No one finds the gap by chance," it said. "The ancients made these towers, you know, to guide the pilgrims over the sea, and then inland across the steeps. They are all connected deep underground, so that whenever one is fed, the others flare." The keeper stood, gazing off now, shaking its head. Ariel could not quite follow. Were there other towers such as this one? The keeper sighed. "But they do burn low now. Nothing to feed since the pilgrimages ceased. Oh, I don't know. I've been dozing so long, 100 years ago." It nodded then. "Yes, most perilously low. Well, I have a remedy for that. Keep wide." Ariel fell back to the other's gesture. It cast the seed of her apricot upon the dais, within the crown of light. The flame hissed, flaring, flickering from blue to violet, then to rose. Ariel stood watching. The tongues of fire grew longer, brighter, merging into a single taller flame. Its color changed to green, to yellow, and still the fire increased until it was as tall as Ariel. The flame changed one last time to white, very brilliant and pure, yet Ariel found she could look upon it without being dazzled. It stood steady now upon its crown, and although Ariel still felt wind gusting off the sea, the cool radiance did not flicker. "Ah, so much the better," a voice beside her said, and turning, Ariel saw the lighthouse keeper. But now, not at all as he has appeared to her before. His robe was neither ragged any more, nor dusty drab, but blue. The color deepened, growing richer as she watched. The person himself stood straighter, seemed neither disheveled nor ancient now, and lean rather than starved. The stick he held was not a gnarled crook at all, but a tall, straight staff. "Ah, yes, much better," he said, holding his hands once more to the flame. "How cold one gets between travelers, and how sleepy." Ariel stared. "But I feel no heat from it," she said at last, not knowing what to say. The person looked up, as though, just then remembering her. "No, of course not," he smiled. "You would not, for you have eaten of the tree, and so may see the beacon's light, as I cannot, for I have never tasted that fruit. Was it good, by the way, your apricot?" "Very good." A little of its taste still lingered in her mouth. The keeper nodded. "So I have heard from the travelers. I would not know." "But why is that?" Ariel began. "When the tree grows at your door." The person laughed, came away from the flame, moving with a slight haltness of step to one of the wide windows. He hardly seemed to need his staff. "Because I am no traveler," he said. "I was not made for journeying, and the tree bears only at need, one fruit for every traveler that fares across the mare." He sighed and tilted back his head. They used to come in droves, the travelers, but no more. Is that the only thing which feeds the light? Asked Ariel. The apricot seeds. The traveler nodded. The tree feeds upon the heat of the world. The pilgrims feed upon its fruit, the flame upon the heart of the fruit, and I upon the flame. Ariel studied the person across from her. He had come back from the window now, stood close to the flame. And you are no mortal, she asked, that eats no mortal food. And are you no mortal, she asked, that eats no mortal food? The keeper smiled and shook his head. Mortal, yes, but not like you. Ravenna made me. I was not born. Ariel caught her breath. Ravenna, she whispered, that made the lawns. You are the lawn of Byrne. But again the keeper shook his head, laughing this time. No lawn am I. He told her gently, Byrne lawn is a great she-wolf that runs along the steeps and shore, warding the land, while I have never even ventured from this headland to the wood. But Ariel could not keep still. A desperate urgency tugged at her. Perhaps she need not go to Orm. Perhaps she could learn of the lawns here in Byrne. Her eyes found the keeper's again. But where may I find her, Byrne-a-lawn? For I must find her soon, and the other lawns, the keeper sighed. I do not know. I have been dozing 100 years. Not once in all that time have I heard the great wolf crying. The last pilgrim who came here spoke of a battle in the west upon the border of Zambul, a winged monster defeating Byrne-a-lawn and carrying her away. A dark angel, whispered Ariel. Not hers of Avarak, but his brother, another of the witch's sons. What's that? The keeper said. Ariel looked up. There is a witch at Desert's Edge who steals away babes to raise as her own, making them winged vampires, the Ikari, who drink the souls of women. 6 dark angels has she now, but her 7th, in Avarak, has been returned to the living before her magic on him could be made complete. Each Icarus in turn overthrows a lawn. One of them I have found already, the Averclawn, but there are 6 more I must find within the year. One of them is Byrne-a-lawn. The keeper turned away again. Bad times, he murmured, that see witches and their sons among us. Ariel drew breath. There is a rhyme, she said. The wild hope that had come to her only moments before was slipping away. She seized at it. When the ancient ones withdrew from us ages ago, Ravenna foretold the coming of the witch. The tall, steep-burning flame threw her shadow before her. The keeper stood overlooking the sea. She made the rhyme and sang it over the lawns at the time of their making. You are not a lawn, but perhaps you can tell me what it means. But first there must assemble those the Ikari would claim. A bride in the temple must enter the flame. Steeds found for the second-born beyond the dust-deep sea, and new arrows reckoned, a wand given wings, so that when a princess royal shall have tasted of the tree, then far from Esternice's city these things, a gathering of gargoyles, a feasting on the stone, the witch of Westernice's hag overthrown. Ariel gazed at the keeper, but the other shook his head. I was made long before the lawns, Wayfarer. I have never heard that riddle before. I do not know its meaning. Ariel cast down her eyes. Disappointment bit her heart and dread. I must go on to Orm, then, she answered quietly, and seek my answer there. She hesitated, then made herself say it. Can you tell me the way? You must follow the coastal road, the keeper said, northward until you reach Talus. Get there by nightfall, for the city gates are barred at sunset. In the morning, take the road going west into the hills. That should see you through the pass into Zambul, which is as much of the way as I know. Do not stray from the road, for the woods are wild. Do not travel by night, and go with some caravan if you can, for in the time since Byrne-a-lawn was taken away, the land hereabouts has grown thick with thieves. Ariel put on what smile she could. She gave the keeper her thanks for his warning of thieves, as he led her down the tower stair. But before you go, he said, take this, will you? The last traveler before you left it, and I have no use for it. He laid one hand upon the peg beside the door. Ariel had not noticed it before. The garment the keeper was holding out was very small. The outside pale cream or gray. Its color seemed to move and shift. The inside was some darker thread. Ariel threw it about her shoulders, found it, to her surprise, exactly the right size. The hem fell a little below her knees. The sleeves stopped halfway between her elbow and the wrist. The peaked hood, when she tried it, fitted, shadowing her face. "I thank you," Ariel began, throwing back the hood, "but I have nothing to pay you with." The keeper shook his head. "No need. Take it as my gift, to keep the road dust off." They emerged from the tower into the morning light, and Ariel noticed with a start that the weeds were gone. What had been rocky ground was covered now with fruiting creepers. A narrow path led to the road. Ariel spotted 5 more fruits hanging upon the tree. "Keeper," she said, "what does it mean?" The keeper halted, a frown creasing his brow. 5 more travelers upon their way across the sea of dust? A new feeling of unease overtook her. Why, she could not say. She expected no pursuit from Isterness. The keeper stood considering. At last, he shook his head. "We saw no sail from the tower, and the tree fruits only at need." He scratched his head for a moment, glanced at her. "How do the fruits appear to you?" Ariel gazed at them, puzzled. "They look exactly the same as the first one, reddish gold and shining in the light." "They must be yours, then. The tree never fruits the same twice. A different gift for each that comes." The keeper went to the tree, and Ariel followed. "I have not seen such a thing before, that one wayfarer should receive so much." He pulled the ripe fruits from the bough. "Take them," he said. It must be you will have need of them." Ariel slipped them carefully into the yellow silk, wrapping her bandolin. The keeper walked with her as far as the road. "But save the seeds," he said. "There is great virtue in them." Ariel adjusted the cloak from her shoulders again. The hood lay flat along her back. She bowed to the keeper then, and he to her. She started away, but she had taken no more than a dozen steps when the other called. "What? A wayfarer has no staff?" Ariel turned, walking backward now, but her smile was full of rue. "I had one in Pendar," she said, "when I lived among the desert folk, but I lost it returning to Avaric." She turned again, walking the road, shielding her eyes from low Soulstar's gaze. She raised the hood of her traveling cloak, glanced over one shoulder, her hand lifted to wave, but the keeper had already vanished back into his lighted tower. And we will pause there.